The competition is tighter than ever for the best smartphone on a budget. Does the Huawei Mate SE reign supreme as the $250 king, or is this another jester? Let's find out. So guys, I needed to find a good phone for the wife that wasn't going to break the bank, and it was down to the Motorola Moto G6, the Xiaomi Mi A1, the Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus, and the Huawei Mate SE. Obviously I picked the Mate SE, so time to go over the pros and cons of this phone to see if I made the right choice. But first, here's what you get when you buy this phone. The packaging reminds me of Apple, going with the white box. Inside we have the phone, USB 2.0 cable along with the USB charger, a transparent case to protect the phone, but unlike the Blue Life One X2 that I reviewed previously, you don't get a screen protector or headphones. Lastly, there's a pin used to eject the micro SD and nano SIM card tray. Speaking of this tray, the Mate SE supports up to 256GB micro SD cards for expandable storage and dual nano SIMs. But the tray only allows either 2 nano SIMs or 1 nano SIM and 1 micro SD card. So if you have 2 SIM cards and you need to accept calls from 2 different phone numbers, you will have to give up having expandable storage and rely on the internal storage of the phone. Thankfully, the Mate SE has 64GB of internal storage, which in 2018 is still a sweet amount of storage for a $250 budget phone. The Huawei Mate SE also has 4GB of RAM, a high silicon Kirin 659 chipset. The CPU is ARM Cortex-A53 octa-core processor with 4 cores clocked at 2.36 GHz and the other 4 at 1.7 GHz, and the GPU is a ARM Mali T830 MP2. This jargon translates to pretty sweet performance for a budget phone. Playing games like Rayman Adventures ran lag-free. Moving through multiple apps felt snappy. The Mate SE got a score of 89,437 on the Antutu benchmark, which is better performance than the Moto G6 and Xiaomi phones I've mentioned, but slightly weaker performance than the Motorola Moto G6 Plus that costs about $100 more. Yeah, to avoid any confusion, just know there are 3 Moto G6 phones. The G6 Play, which is the cheapest of the 3, just the G6, which price-wise competes directly with the Mate SE, and the G6 Plus that is the high end of this entry-level family of phones. Now the Mate SE does not support quick charging, so it'll take over 2 hours to charge the battery, but the Mate SE has a 3340 mAh battery, which is larger than many other phones in this price range, except for say the Moto G6 Play and Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus that have 4000 mAh batteries. The Mate SE will give you a proper day's worth of battery life, and you just have to charge your phone overnight. Speaking of charging, unfortunately the charge port is only USB 2.0, so transferring of files will be slower compared to the Moto G6 that has a USB Type-C connector. Next to the charge port, you can see the phone only has one speaker that, while decently loud, won't blow anyone away while watching a video or listening to music. But thankfully there's the mic jack to connect a headphone. Overall, I like the sleek design of this phone with a metal body finish, and it does look better to me than the large bezel, slightly thicker glass back Moto G6. Looking at the back of the phone, you see a dual camera setup, and there's also the fingerprint reader, which is quick at unlocking your phone. On the front of the phone, there's a 5.93-inch 1080 by 2160p resolution IPS display with 407 pixels per inch that has an aspect ratio of 18:9 that several of the flagship phones have as well. The screen looks bright and the colors are nice, and with most video content on the web being uploaded at 16:9 aspect ratio, you will see black bars on the side while watching those videos, but you can pinch to zoom to get the full screen experience. Of course, there are people like Jonathan Morrison who upload content at 18:9 that will fill the screen size with crispy content. In sunlight, the screen holds up decently except when the sun is blazing. With regards to scratches and shadow resistance, I'm not sure how strong the glass is for the Mate SE display, as it isn't Gorilla Glass 3 used on other phones in this price range. Just something to consider if you are interested in this phone. Now when it comes to the camera on the Mate SE, you get a mixed bag of performance. The front-facing 8-megapixel camera will give you a serviceable photo, still not the best selfie camera because in bright sunlight you will get overexposed backgrounds in both pictures and video. The main rear-facing camera at 16 megapixels is much better, and for a budget phone I'm happy with the pictures the Huawei Mate SE can produce and the video quality is decent. Unfortunately, the Mate SE does not have image stabilization, so to have some smooth footage, you need a phone gimbal or tripod. Considering that the Moto G6 has stabilization, for videos you might be better off with that phone instead of the Mate SE. Also, when zooming in using the 2-megapixel secondary rear-facing camera, things fall apart. The quality is poor zoomed in, and the camera software immediately adds a lot of sharpening to your photo to try to compensate for the low megapixel count, but it just doesn't work. Still, the portrait mode using both lenses for depth perception is nice, working best taking a picture of 1 or 2 subjects the most. The Mate SE is not a Pixel 2 in quality, but it is far superior to the Blue Life One X2 I reviewed, and I'm happy to see $250 phones with this quality, as it makes me think in the next 5 years, the sweet quality you will get for this price range. On the software side, I just expected when you connected the Mate SE to your computer, you would just see a drive for you to explore the files you saved on your phone, but I was surprised to see that Huawei has a software called HiSuite that manages this, sort of like iTunes for Apple. You can view, delete, and back up your contacts, messages, photos, and videos, as well as manage your phone apps. You can view a screen capture of your phone, and while it's a cool feature to have, I found the experience to be laggy. You can even use this software to send SMS messages from your phone, but you will have to make HiSuite your default messenger in order to do this. If this was my phone, I'd probably use this feature, as I suck at typing up messages on my phone, but I type fast enough on my computer keyboard. Lastly, this phone ships with Android 7, but right after I initially set up the Mate SE, there was an Android 8 Oreo update waiting to be installed. I'm not sure if there will be future OS updates in store for the Mate SE, say when Android P officially releases, which is almost a guarantee, I think, for the Xiaomi Mi A1, being a phone that is part of the Android One program. And a news article on XDA Developer mentioned that Motorola has one scheduled update for the Moto G6. It will be nice if the Mate SE gets a second update, but I'm happy there is the Oreo update now, as the Blue Life One X2 I reviewed never passed Android 6. Conclusion time. Overall, I'm impressed with the Huawei Mate SE. It has its flaws, but it's a great phone for the price. Good call quality, decent camera, great performance, really nice display, nice metal design. The Xiaomi phones were super tempting as they are priced slightly below $200 but they don't support LTE Band 2, which is the LTE band that my telecommunications provider uses here in Belize. Outside of Wi-Fi coverage at our home and work, my wife definitely needs proper LTE support for her internet needs on the go. Now the Moto G6 definitely supports Band 2 and it can be found on Amazon for $235, but when I bought the Mate SE, I got it for $230 US, and the glass back of the Moto G6 worries me with my wife's handling of smartphones. Also, since the Moto G6 on Amazon only has 3 GB of RAM, 32 GB of internal storage, a slower CPU, smaller battery, and slightly smaller display size, I went with the Huawei Mate SE. If you're interested in picking up the Mate SE or any of the phones I mentioned in this video, click on the affiliate links in the description, as it will provide a small commission to me that will help out for future content on this channel. Anyways guys, if you found this review informative, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next week.